Hello, this is astrologer coach Sonja Francis, and today we're going to be talking about the upcoming new moon in almost 8 degrees of Scorpio, which will be exact on October 30th at 1:38 p.m. East Coast time in the US, which is also New York time, or 10:38 a.m. Pacific time, which is also the West Coast in the US, which is also LA time. Now, the new moon is always the beginning of a new moon cycle, so it's a good time to go within to seed anything we would like to connect for the next 28 days. And we will also talk about the best and most potent times to set new moon intentions towards the end of this video, so stay tuned until then. Now, again, the new moon is an introverted time. We go within, we see what we wish to align ourselves with for the next 28 days. And with the new moon in passionate all or nothing Scorpio, that brings our focus to our intimate relationships with others and ourselves and our deepest desires. And so, because there's a lot of planets in Scorpio with this new moon, we're powerfully reminded to face our fears and to embrace our shadow parts. And that way we can really reclaim our inner power. And so the shadow or the shadow parts within ourselves are all suppressed or denied or undeveloped qualities of ourselves. So anything that we've sort of like tried to push away, that we're not happy with, that we think is not, that can't be us, that can't be me. I don't like that about me. Or things that we've just sort of not been able to integrate because of the way we were raised or conditioned, because of society, things that people say is right or wrong. Certain things we just kind of like go like, no, that's not me, right? So when we haven't fully integrated these disowned aspects of ourselves, we tend to feel more easily disempowered, and we're also left vulnerable to other people's manipulations or domination. And so what's important to remember here is that when we are able to really integrate all of these things, all the things that we have rejected about ourselves, then we're more able to feel empowered. And so things that we reject very often, these energies that we reject about ourselves, they tend to show up in the outside world in other ways, so that we get a chance to reintegrate them, so we get a chance to embrace them. But of course, that's not always so easy, because these projections of these energies in the outside world sometimes show up in ways that feel a little bit uncomfortable to us. So when we feel uncomfortable, it's sometimes hard to integrate that, right? So it's almost like we need to learn to see these uncomfortable places where we project something into the outside world as places where we have an opportunity to reintegrate aspects of ourselves that we have denied and rejected. Now, the things that we disown very often own us, because when we don't want to be a certain way, or when we don't allow ourselves to embrace a part of ourselves, what ends up happening is that suppression will sometimes show up in places where we least expect them, when we're tired, or when we're really stressed, or when we're really hungry, when we don't have the energy to keep suppressing what we're suppressing. It may come up. And then when it comes up, then it feels extremely disempowering, and sometimes we even feel shame around this. And so that's how these energies own us, because they kind of show up anyways, even if we try to suppress them, right? And then, of course, also whenever we have something that we resist because we're like, no, that's not me, or I don't want this in my life, right? Then very often these energies tend to persist because we're pushing them away. And as we're pushing them away, these energies push back. And as they're pushing back, whatever it is that we're resisting stays in place. So Scorpio is very much about allowing ourselves to see all these things and to integrate them and to create more wholeness, and through that wholeness create empowerment, right? So questions you can ask yourself here with this new moon is, who really bothers me out there in the world? You know, what is it that bothers me out there? People, situations, places, governments, countries, you know, like anything that really bothers you out there in the world. And what specifically bothers me about that or them, right? And really kind of make it an experiment to kind of just curiously explore that and see, like, what is it out there that I feel bothered by? And how do those characteristics relate to me in whatever shape or form, even in a small way, right? Are they doing things out there that I'm not allowed to do, or that I don't allow myself to do, or haven't allowed myself to be or do, even just to a tiny healthy extent, right? I mean, these are really, really great questions to just kind of like explore and connect with for the next 28 days, right? So if you see something in the outside world, even if it's an exaggerated version of something that you haven't allowed yourself to be your own, you know, even if you can just dial it down to a healthy expression of that energy and see if you can maybe start to own or play with the healthy expression of something. Because whenever something is exaggerated, it's a little bit harder to embrace, right? Because it usually doesn't come from the highest vibration of yourself when it's exaggerated, right? So you could ask yourself, for example, what if I was okay with being arrogant, or with being a bully, or with being vindictive, or things that are really hard for you to kind of own or to kind of embrace about yourself, right? And what if I was okay with all those things just for a moment, you know, without pushing it away, without judging it, you know, just a little part of myself. This is just a little part of myself that wants to be seen, that wants to be heard. And if we can use humor, you know, within that exploration, that can be really helpful too. That can make a huge difference as well. So the other part of humor is that what you joke about, right? That can also be a huge giveaway in terms of our shadow parts. So just ask yourself, what do I joke about and then feel a little bit bad about it that I had joked about it? And so that can sometimes give away what it is that we're trying to hide or bury or deny about ourselves, especially if it's sort of like an awkward humor part there, right? Where it feels a little bit like, I probably shouldn't have laughed about that. Or it feels a little bit funny in the center of your tummy, right? And with all these questions, as always, you know, like all the questions from my video, they're always available on my website as well. So if you want to sit with the questions or journal on them or meditate with them, feel free to look them up at AstrologerCoach.com. We are my weekly forecasts. If you click on that link and just look for Sunday, October 30th, just scroll down and look for that entry, and then you will see the new moon entry there, and all the questions will be there. But you can also sign up for receiving these questions via email in the future. If you send us an email to info@astrologercoach.com and just write weekly forecasts in the subject line, my assistant will add you to that mailing list, and you'll receive those weekly forecasts every Sunday evening. All right, so that's a possibility as well. Now back to the new moon. We have the sun, the moon, and Mercury in Scorpio. So we really are powerfully reminded that our thinking really must transform. That something needs to be brought from the darkness into light. We need to make something aware around our thinking processes, around our conditioning, that we need to shift. And so with Neptune being really connected so beautifully to all those Scorpio planets, there's really a huge opportunity to tap more fully into our intuitive body with this, with bringing these things to light, allowing ourselves to transform more easily, releasing old patterns and behaviors that are no longer serving us, through the ability to have self-compassion. Neptune really gives us the gift of compassion, the gift of self-love, self-acceptance, kindness, understanding. So really bringing those components to the ability to transform old patterns or old behaviors, really can help us shift our attention from the head to the heart. And that can support us release things more easily. So in each moment, you really have a choice here. You can really act either from love, self-acceptance, self-compassion, or you can act from fear or choose fear, right? Which is more tension, judgment, self-protection, control, trying to control things out of fear, right? Scorpio is all about transformation from fear or trauma, that's fear that's connected to trauma from the past, to love and empowerment. And we're being invited to do just that for the next 28 days by going into a deeper connection with ourselves and being more authentic and passionate with ourselves and with life. That's really the goal. The goal is that authenticity, that emotional authenticity, that feeling passionate about life, right? So remember, fear is resistance to life or anything that is connected to life, whereas love is acceptance of life and all its forms. And so one way to tell them apart is to look at whether what we're thinking and feeling is based on what's actually here now, as opposed to what used to be, history, past traumas, and then also possible futures, like trying to think about things and how we can make our future more safe or more protective. How can we control our future more, right? So questions you can ask yourself here is, so what's true for me right here, right now? And what would love see, or how would love see what's happening right here, right now? Right? These are great, great questions to journal on or to meditate on. And, the spiritual task of Scorpio is really to learn to let go of whatever is dead or toxic in our lives. And very often, these dead and toxic parts in our lives are connected to past trauma or past disempowerments, right? So once again, fear is really based either on what was or a possible future in which we would not be okay. And usually these possible futures in which we're not okay, they're also based on what was, on past traumas or past disempowerments, right? So all this, of course, can be scary and can stir up wanting control. If we've had experiences where we were not okay, that can stir up wanting to control things, wanting to manage things, wanting to feel empowered, which, usually this wanting control and wanting to feel empowered can create more toxicity and more disempowerment in the world, or even just within our own little world, right? So the key here is to really realize that letting go is not about loss or loss of control. It's really about transforming and ultimately about feeling empowered, and transforming really means making something that's unconscious conscious, bringing light to darkness, making sure that we're seeing things for what they are rather than trying to push them away, right? And holding on to a fake sense of control is disempowering to ourselves and other people. So toxicity and past trauma, that is all part of, this wanting to control things. And by wanting to control things, very often we think that we're in control, right? We're sort of like by saying, no, this is what I want, or this is how it needs to happen, by holding on. It's really sort of like I'm being attached and holding on. And that is what creates this sense of disempowerment, because we're not allowing life to shine through. We're not allowing the flow of life, which is organic, which is what is empowering to us. This flow, life, feeling alive. That's what's empowering to us. So, and that also, of course, is connected to when we have sort of like a situation in our lives where we have an ending, something's ending, the letting go creates this sense of something is ending, right? But what's really happening is, though, that every ending is also a new beginning. And that's the power of Scorpio too, is to realize and to see that everything is cyclical, and that there is no such thing as just an ending. Because an ending also inherently holds the new beginning, always. So trusting in our inner strength, in our ability to handle whatever comes, even when we don't know yet what the new beginning looks like, to be able to trust it with an open heart, that is really where our power lies. That's where we truly are empowered. And trust plays a really, really central role in our intimate relationships and our authentic connections with ourselves and the world. So trust is really something that Scorpio needs to explore, that's the energy of Scorpio, needs to explore, how can I trust more? When can I trust? And when do I not trust, and why do I not trust, right? So trust is something that's really developed over time, and it can take a little longer for those of us who experienced trauma in the past, of course, and this applies also to trusting ourselves as much as it applies to trusting others, or just life in general, because when we have experienced trauma in the past, we sometimes have a hard time trusting ourselves, our intuitive selves, because we tend to think that, well, if I could have trusted my intuition, this wouldn't have happened to me, whatever the trauma is, whatever the hurt, the pain that was inflicted on me, right? But sometimes things just happen, and things that happen that can be painful, or that can have a disempowering effect on us, or a traumatizing effect on us, they can really serve our evolution on some level. That can really be something that can be sort of like something that we need to experience so we can move to the next level of our soul journey, or that we can move to the next level of our evolutionary exploration in this human body, in this human experience. So it has nothing to do with having good or bad intuition. Allowing ourselves to embrace that what happened needed to happen so we could grow and evolve. That is where our power lies. And it doesn't mean that we did anything wrong. Something happened, and now something happened, and now that it happened, what are we going to do about it? How are we going to move with something that felt traumatizing, or something that felt disempowering? Are we going to give our power away to that past experience? Or are we going to step more fully into our power by owning that it is something that helped us evolve, that helped us grow? And can we keep our heart open, with all of that we've have experienced? And can we learn how to trust ourselves and life again, right? So just kind of sit with all of that, sit with all of these questions, and allow yourself to really investigate that. And you can also investigate some of these questions as well. What began at the ending you've been through? So if you have been through endings in the past, things where you felt like an era was ending and something new was beginning, or a relationship was ending and something new was beginning, or you were ending a phase of your life, whether that was materially, psychologically, or emotionally, and something else was beginning. What began at the end each of these endings that you have experienced in the past. Just kind of think about that and think back to these experiences. And I'm guessing that, you didn't always know what the new beginning would look like, right? And just ask yourself, could this time be like that too? Like if you're experiencing an ending of some sort, if you're experiencing a needing to let go of something, could it be this time also that you're just not quite sure yet what the new beginning looks like? And what might open up if you trusted to the evolutionary cycles of life just for now? So whenever we need to let go of something, or whenever we're recognizing that we're at the end of something, that we're letting go of something toxic or something that's disempowering in our lives, can we just be open to trusting the evolutionary cycles of life, and that it's not just an end, that it's really like a cycle of something new beginning, right? Just for now, could we allow that? Now let's talk a little bit about Mars and Pluto, because those are planets that are very strongly connected to this new moon. Mars was considered the astrological ruler of Scorpio for a long time, until the 30s, when Pluto became the modern ruler of Scorpio. And Pluto is now journeying through Capricorn, where it squares Jupiter in Libra. And so this square is really a very powerful square, because it will go on for quite a while. It will be exact in the end of November, but we'll be feeling it all the way through December. And it has to do with it's the end of a cycle between Pluto and Jupiter, because Jupiter and Pluto were conjunct or aligned with each other in December of 2007 in 28 degrees of Sagittarius. And so that was a beginning of these two planets connecting with each other and their journey together, their cycle together, right? And now we're at the last square of the closing square between Pluto and Jupiter. So we're coming to an end with that cycle. And so this cycle really is about our belief systems. It's about really how are we connected to what we believe, and how authentic is it what we believe, and how is it deeply connected to our emotional body, and to our passions, to our to deep feelings that we hold dear, in terms of our own lives and with the world, with the collective. So we're really being invited here to take a look at, with this closing square, to take a look at our beliefs, and maybe even our blind faith that we might have in relationship to other people, and maybe taking some unnecessary risks that are maybe out of alignment with our passions, with our deepest desires that we hold dear in regards to what we want to build in the outside world, what we want to build long-term, our long-term goals. And in what way is it empowering or disempowering to us, right? How we connect with other people. So we're really at a turning point. A square is always a turning point. And so this turning point really allows for some very deep changes in our beliefs. And this is really what's possible right now. But we're needing to, we need to stretch ourselves a little bit. We need to allow ourselves to grow here. We need to allow ourselves to let go of what no longer is working around our social structures or our long-term goals. So this is really a shift that this square can really shift things for us, not just on an individual level, but also on a social and collective level. This is, just because Jupiter is sort of like a social energy, and Pluto is also a collective energy. So these can be some very important shifts that can happen in the world right now for us. But what's really key here with this square is empowerment. We really want to empower other people. So notice when you try to force your beliefs on others, or when you push too hard in general. Because when we're pushing, and when we get obsessed, or when we're getting fearful around something, the more we're pushing, the more likely it becomes that life will just push back at us. And so what's really going to be helpful with this square is humor. Like I mentioned earlier already, humor is a really great relief and release and an ability for us to let go more easily with humor. And being open-minded helps quite a ton as well. So if something shows up about yourself that is like a shadow issue, for example, let yourself laugh about it. You know, we're not usually our shadow selves. Those aspects usually show up when we're tired, when we're hungry, when we're stressed to the max, right? So these are things that are not always there. And when they show up, it's really an opportunity to integrate them. And humor is a wonderful way to do that, you know. So when something shows up, use humor to integrate whatever showed up that you are uncomfortable with, or that you don't want to own, or that you don't want to be a part of yourself. Because the more serious we are here with dealing with our shadow parts, the more obsessed we get here, the more difficult it can be for us and for other people. And there can also be an aspect of disempowerment that shows up in connection to not being able to integrate something, right? So just be aware of that. Be aware of when something shows up. See if you can use humor, even when other people come at you with their shadow issues, you know, use humor. Allow it to be lighter and bring light to it as best as you can. Now, as I mentioned earlier already, Mars is the traditional ruler of Scorpio, and it's also moving through Capricorn right now, but it's further along. So it's already squaring Uranus in Aries and sextiling Chiron in Pisces. So what does that mean? So this square with Uranus really brings a lot of restlessness and impatience. Mars and Uranus, they're both, Uranus is very, can be a little bit unpredictable. Mars is very forward, you know, driven and forward moving, wants to move and push. And so we can be very demanding and hard to please at this time, especially for the next 2 weeks. And we tend to feel like progress is moving way too slow, and we're tired of waiting for stuff to happen. So this could be really an explosive time for some people, you know, especially if you have a dominant Mars in your chart, or if you're an Aries sun sign or rising sign, or even moon sign, or if you have an Aquarius sun sign, rising sign, or moon sign. You will start to feel this friction much stronger, you know, and you will have this rebellious urge within you to move forward with something, or it will drive you towards some kind of an emotional challenge. So just acknowledge that you're feeling this, you know, you're feeling resistance to what is, you know. That's really what rebelliousness is we're resisting what is, and we want to change it, we want to shift it. And you're also experiencing resistance towards the speed in which these things are moving forward right now, or not moving forward right now. So just, if possible, you know, channel this restlessness and channel this friction energy, this rebellious energy, channel that into projects that need a jump start. So something that's been on the back burner for a while and that you've been wanting to do, use those projects and just move them forward with that energy. Or channel this energy into athletic pursuits. That can be really useful as well. Just do something physical, you know, wiggle around, you know, jump around, you know, go into the gym and just do things that help you shake it all out, right? So it's a kind of a shaking feeling that Uranus brings to the table, right? We want to shake things up. So as best as you can, if you can do that physically, that shaking things up in the gym, but if you can't do that, you know, as best as you can, you know, just stay grounded and keep breathing, stay connected to the earth, because we're going to feel this sense of uncertainty as well, you know. So keep breathing, stay connected to your breath, and allow yourself to stay connected to the body, to the physical world, right? And remember that the future that we are creating, or that we want to create, can only be as fulfilling as the present time that we're embracing. So if we're not able to embrace what is, we're not really going to be able to create a future that is fulfilling to us, right? So this is something important to remember. And what's really helpful with this aspect too is flexibility, open-mindedness, allow yourself to kind of like adapt and move, and practice self-compassion, especially in regards to our anger and desires for success and achievement. This is really an opportunity for healing. You know, Chiron is involved here as well with this aspect. So it's an opportunity to be kind to yourself, allow yourself to embrace your own humanity, especially when it comes to wanting to assert yourself, wanting to, you know, become an authority in your own right. Okay? Now you can ask yourself these questions here with this aspect as best as you can. Could you simply allow all resistance to just be? Whatever resistance you're feeling in this moment, can you just allow it to be? And just for right now, could you simply let go of wanting to resist what is? That's a really great question, right? So just allow yourself to ask that question as often as you need to. And could you set all inner tension free as best as you can? So could you just set it all free? Could you just open up from inside, internally, create that openness? So these are really fantastic questions to ask yourself, especially for the next 2 weeks. All right. So just allow yourself to sit with these questions, meditate or journal on them, and really keep asking them because they're going to be really helpful. All right. Now, last thing I want to talk about is Saturn and Venus in Sagittarius. They are conjunct with each other at the time of the new moon, and they're making a lot of connections to the new moon chart. So firstly, they're squaring the moon nodes right now. So this brings a focus on our beliefs, what we believe about relationships and connecting with other people, and also our ability to take responsibility for how we relate to ourselves and other people, right? And so in fact, this is also a turning point in our journey and our soul's journey towards making more heartfelt or intuitive decisions that really serve all, that serve the collective. So we're really at a turning point here. And Venus and Saturn also making a sextile to Jupiter in Libra and Uranus in Aries. So what does that mean? So basically, because these are very positive aspects or harmonious aspects, this brings sort of like a joyful, enthusiastic component to what we consider possible for us long term, right? So business partnerships are able to get off the ground with more ease right now. And we're good at assessing their risk. If there is sort of like in regards to partnerships, we're good to assessing the risks. So questions you can ask yourself here is, what commitments am I ready for? And what might where might I explore these commitments? Like in what area of my lives do I want to explore these commitments? And so that brings us to the end of just kind of summing up what this new moon is all about. Let yourself integrate all of who you are. Do it with love. Do it with an open heart. Allow yourself to be all of you, not just the parts you're delighted with. Let yourself be human. And even those parts that are connected to past trauma and past pain, as best as you can, allow those parts to feel safe and loved. Because very often with past trauma and past pain, that's where we kind of like tense up, where we feel scared, where we get kind of like fearful that we're not safe or that we're not okay. So allow those parts to feel safe and loved. And embrace the part of you that is scared. And it's not who you are now. These parts, wherever we're scared, these parts are usually connected to the past, to past experiences. So remember, there is nothing to defend or protect in the here and now. You are powerful in your own right, always. In the here and now, you're powerful in your own right. Be courageous and be kind to yourself. And you have to, you always have the loving strength inside of you that you need to handle life every single moment of now. It's only in the past that you can point to a place where you have not felt empowered. But in the here and now, if you just keep focusing on who you are in the here and now, and you keep your heart open, you always have all the strength you need to handle whatever comes. And so here are some last coaching questions that you can ask yourself with this. What if I let compassion and courage think and speak on my behalf? I think that's a really beautiful question to just kind of marinate in and be with for the next 28 days. And what if my thoughts and words were really instruments of revelation and empowerment? And that's a very powerful question too. So something that you could maybe journal on or meditate on for the next 28 days, whatever feels like a good fit for you. But remember, you don't have to answer these questions right away. Just allow yourself to be with the questions, right? Now, if you have an ascendant, career point, or personal planets in 5 to 10 degrees of Scorpio, Taurus, Leo, or Aquarius, then you are definitely going to feel this new moon more strongly. It will impact you more. But even if you don't have personal planets in those degrees and signs, the house placement in your natal chart affected by this new moon is also really important to investigate. So just take a look at your birth chart and just see, where does 8 degrees of Scorpio land in your birth chart, and what does that house or area of life mean? How can you empower yourself more in that area of your life? Or where is there some toxicity or some something that feels disempowering that you're now ready to let go in that area of your life, right? So just take a look at that. And if you don't have a birth chart, then feel free to watch my video, How to Read Your Birth Chart. I'll talk about how to get a birth chart for yourself at the end of this video, and also how to apply whatever I'm talking about in my videos and my weekly forecasts to your birth chart. So this is a really great video to watch. If you haven't seen it yet, you can email us at info@astrologercoach.com and write recording in the subject line. And then my assistant will email that to you with some handouts. And if you've already watched it, it's also a great video to just watch again right before joining our monthly forecasting forum, which is a really great 90-minute webinar that you can join every month, that will help you to just be in alignment with the upcoming energies more fully, so that you can really apply what's happening energetically to your own birth chart, and you can see how that applies to you. So if that sounds kind of interesting to you, the next forum will be Tuesday, November 15th at 12:30 p.m. Pacific time, which is LA time, 3:30 p.m. East Coast time, which is New York time, or 8:30 p.m. London time, which is Greenwich Village time. And so we will talk about, in the next forecasting forum, we'll talk about the Chiron station that will come up November, December. We'll talk about the next super moon, full moon, which will be in Taurus this time. And we'll also talk about the Pluto-Jupiter square that's coming up in the end of November. So feel free to check in with me with these forums. They're a really great way to apply what's happening in the sky to your own chart and see how you can move with it and work with it more consciously. So you can sign up for these webinars live, or you can also register to receive an MP4 video recording. The webinar is $24 for the 90 minutes, and it's a really great way to connect with me. If you're not able to book a reading with me, that's a really great way, because you can also ask questions. And I want to invite you that when you register on my website, there is a form that you can fill out at the bottom of the monthly forecasting forum page. And I want to invite you to fill out that form, because first of all, it will let me know if you want to join live or if you want to just get a recording. And then also you can ask your questions in advance that I will address during the webinar for you, even if you're watching it as a recording. Now, as far as the questions go, please ask things that are connected to what we're covering that month, because we have a forecasting forum every single month. So I want to address things that are connected to the energies that are currently happening that month. So that way it's interesting to everybody as well, right? So that's my request. And then Yes, now let's talk a little bit about the new moon intentions, which we've all been waiting for to get to hear when is the most powerful, most potent time to set those intentions for this moon cycle. Well, the best time to do it is right after the new moon becomes exact, and definitely not during a moon void of course phase. So this month, the best and most potent time is any time between 1:38 p.m. on October 30th and 10:43 p.m. on October 31st, and then again from 10:43 a.m. until 1:38 p.m. on November 1st. And all of this is New York time. So if you live in a different time zone, I want to just invite you to plug these time zones into a time zone converter on the internet, and then you'll get to see when this is happening for you. But if you don't want to do that, then feel free to just join me on Facebook, on my Facebook fan page or my Twitter page, because I will be posting during those times several times in a row. I'll be posting when is a good time to set your intentions, and then that way you just look when that's showing up, and then you just set your intentions right there and then. All right. So for more information about setting new moon intentions, go to my Facebook fan page, or you can also see it on my website. If you go to weekly forecasts and then look for astrology articles, you will see in astrology articles there is a section that talks about the setting new moon intentions. Or on my Facebook fan page in the notes section, which is unfortunately only visible from your computer. So you can't look at that from your phone, but you can look at it from your computer. And I will do my best to post it again on my page, so that way you can hopefully see it via your phone as well. All right. So again, all the questions in this video are available on my website at AstrologerCoach.com via my weekly forecasts. Look for Sunday, October 30th. That entry has the new moon forecast in it and all the questions. And you can also sign up to receive all of these weekly forecasts via email every week. If you want to subscribe to them, just email us at info@astrologercoach.com and just write weekly forecast in the subject line. Or you can also sign up for my newsletter, which only gets sent out twice a month, if you prefer that. My newsletter talks about special offers that I have, videos, announcements about my business, announcement about courses that I teach. So feel free to sign up for that as well if you like. You can just write newsletter in the subject line and email us at info@astrologercoach.com. All right. Now, hopefully you have a beautiful new moon. And if you have any general questions for me about the new moon, feel free to email me at Sonja@astrologercoach.com. Any personal questions that require of me to pull up a chart, I will ask you to book a reading with me on my website at astrologercoach.com. Or any questions connected to what's coming up within the next 30 to 40 days, I want to invite you to just join the monthly forecasting forum and ask your questions there. All right? So have a good one. Remember, it's an introverted time. It's a time to really get connected to your intuitive self, so you can seed new intentions for the next 28 days. All right? Have a good one. This is Astrologer Coach Sonja Francis. Goodbye.